Raise your hand if you feel confident telling the British people that we will have left the EU by the 31st of October.
Well, that's the spirit, Jeremy.
There we
Thank
go.
you very much, gentlemen.
Come on, want to do it. I'll make it happen.
You've got to fool me.
Well, that's pretty clear. Please
thought he
don't
said it
go
couldn't be
away.
done.
As you can see, much more debate between the two candidates to come. After the break, we'll discuss who has the right character and personal qualities to be Prime Minister. And yes, we might talk about Donald Trump too.
Hello and welcome to Untitled Rhetoric, your channel for all things rhetorical. So this is another commentary video on contemporary political speaking. Once again, I'm going to use the Jeremy Hunt versus Boris Johnson leadership campaign as my example. And the topic of today's video would fall under the category of Ethos and Pathos. Now, in a nutshell, these are related to emotions, whether that be the displaying of emotions yourself as the speaker, or the evocation of emotions from the audience. So, last week, the two candidates to be the next Prime Minister, leader of the Conservative Party as well, finally agreed to engage in a one-to-one debate on, I think it was live television, maybe not, but primetime television, obviously, with a presenter and a studio audience who also asked questions. To be honest, I haven't actually watched the whole debate. I think it was a 1 hour programme, mainly because I already know what everyone is going to say anyway. In fact, once you've heard a couple of interviews from Johnson, Hunt and other people, you can actually play a game where you can just pause the video or the audio and just pretty much guess the rest of the sentence that they're going to say. It's got to that point. So give that a go. Now, I want to start off today by just taking for an example a piece of commonplace rhetoric. I'm going to, in my next video, I'm going to explore this in a bit more detail. But basically, commonplace rhetoric are phrases, stock phrases that people bandy about, basically get copied, repeated, and they're basically collocations. A collocation is when two words go well together. Just a random example, not Brexit related, but I guess rough justice, for example. Well, why rough justice? Why not tough justice? Well, it just is. They're just two words that have stuck together, and people just now use those two words. Or cruel fate. So it's not cruel justice, but you could have cruel fate. Okay, so that's if I say collocation, that's what a collocation is. So in the whole Brexit discussions, whether you're whether the politicians are on the Remain side or on the Leave side, known as Brexiters or Brexiteers, they've all got these phrases that they keep using. If you're on the Remain side, you might say crashing out of the EU on October the 31st or whenever, and Brexiteers don't like that because it's got a negative connotation, obviously. And Brexiteers say, I think I'll call them Brexiters actually, just so I'm not making people sound, it's more of a neutral phrase at Brexiters, but Brexiters have deliver Brexit, that they say, don't they? It's not do Brexit or go through with Brexit, it's deliver Brexit. So both sides are guilty to some degree of using these phrases, and it's basically hyperbole. It's exaggerations most of the time. So one of these exaggerated phrases that has been used, I'm pretty sure it's been used by Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage and so on, is to say that by not delivering Brexit, it would be an assault on democracy. That's one of the many phrases. So an assault on democracy. So what you're doing is you're creating a victim. Okay, so this is really a really strong term. You know, oh, I've been assaulted. I'm a victim of assault. So we, the people, or people who voted for Brexit, are victims of assault if Brexit isn't delivered by whenever it's supposed to be delivered. Now, as I've said, on the Remain side, there are also similar. We are victims of certain things, but I'm looking at Hunt and Johnson, who are in the news a lot at the moment, and they definitely use, this phrase that's been bandied about, assault on democracy. It's very exaggerated, like I said. Now, the main point here is that if it really was such a serious issue as that, if it really was that bad, you would look a bit more emotional, I think, when you were saying it, than this weird, smiling, always jovial, happy, like they look sometimes, especially during this debate. I'm showing you a picture right now. And this is just one snapshot from an hour-long program, but believe me, you can watch the whole thing, you can watch many videos, and they don't really change their facial expressions to any great degree. So they always look quite jovial, as if they've just been to some comedy night or something, or they've just been to an entertaining musical and in the West End, and they've had a couple of glasses of wine. They don't look like people who are really mortified, who are really outraged by this assault on democracy, this terrible thing that's happening. Now, I'm not going to talk about him today, another day for sure, but Farage I think he's actually now wait, let me get to the end of the sentence. I think he's actually the best of the rhetoricians that we have at the moment. I also think Tony Blair's a very good speaker as well. So now, okay, those are totally the opposite ends of the spectrum. I'm just looking at this from a rhetorical side, not a political side. So I'll get to Farage and Tony Blair on another day. But so Farage does actually do quite well at looking a bit upset sometimes. He's sort of really, you can almost believe. In fact, I do think he is genuinely upset to a certain degree that Brexit isn't happening. Now, exactly what's in it for Farage, I'm not sure. I'm sure it's very beneficial to him, financially perhaps. So I'm sure that he is genuinely upset. Although I think that also there might be some sort of crocodile tears as well, because I think he's a very skilled rhetorician. Whereas Johnson and Hunt, I'm really not sure about, but Johnson, he just doesn't look upset at all. When you say things like, "Oh, an assault on democracy," well, you should look like you're actually a bit upset, or almost draw a tear or something. I don't believe, I just don't believe it, and I'm surprised, perhaps, maybe not. Actually, just to get something in about Jeremy Hunt, recently Rory Bremner, who's a comedian, sort of does political satires. He does impressions of politicians and famous people. He recently said, I think it was on Good Morning Britain, he said that Hunt reminds him of a puppet, and he does actually. That I can't see him now not being like a puppet. Now that idea has been put into my head, he actually reminds me of something out of Thunderbirds, and perhaps another day I might do something on Jeremy Hunt, because his hand actions, which is another part of rhetoric, which we'll get to another day. His hand actions really don't work for me. In Hamlet says, suit the action to the word to the action, and he certainly doesn't do that. So his expressions are about as limited as those of a puppet, and he just doesn't look like someone who genuinely is upset or concerned. Maybe he is, but it certainly doesn't look like it. And this is then ethos. This is part of your proof of character, especially the moral character of the speaker. So they don't actually seem to bring this part of rhetoric out with their facial expressions. Hunt, like I said, has this puppet-like one face all the time. Johnson, really just too jovial all the time and makes a joke of everything. Well, if it's so funny, if it's such a joke, why use these really strong terms and make it sound, with the words that you're using, make it sound like it's an absolute catastrophe? So that's basically the point I wanted to make today. Now, before I go, I want to show another clip, and this is a clip of someone who actually really does care, someone who genuinely cares, not just for their own well-being, but the well-being of the entire world. Thank you.
But when your house is on fire and you want to keep your house from burning to the ground, then that does require some level of panic. We are in the midst of the 6th mass extinction, and the extinction rate is up to 10,000 times faster than what is considered normal, with up to 200 species becoming extinct every single day. Erosion of fertile topsoil, deforestation of our great forests, toxic air pollution, loss of insects and wildlife, the acidification of our oceans. These are all disastrous trends being accelerated by a way of life that we, here in our financially fortunate part of the world, see as our right to simply carry on.